Now, someone said that we needed to talk about snapper.
Yep.
You've been doing a lot of talking about snapper, mate.
I've been doing a little bit, yeah.
You've been doing a fair bit of fishing.
Yep.
We have not fished for a long time.
Yep.
But we're going to talk to the folks about some snapper fishing.
Certainly are.
Fantastic. Let's get into it.
All right.
So we did snapper fishing mainly in Port Phillip Bay, a few long days in Westernport.
Yep.
Got fish.
Yep.
It's been a long, drawn-out winter. I've had no boat. You've been moving place.
Yep.
And you've probably for the last 4 weeks have gone hard.
I have, yeah.
And you've done lots of fishing and caught lots of fish.
I have, yeah.
How has this cold period merging into spring differed from previous seasons? It seems earlier.
It is earlier, and there's a huge amount of fish, and I reckon it's because of all the northwesterlies we've been having.
And what's the effect of the northwesterlies? Warmer weather?
Yeah, warmer weather, but you'd think the water temperature would be up, but it's not. But for some odd reason, they've been biting a lot better than any other year this early than I can remember.
Any difference in size at this time of year that you've found so far?
There are always big ones around this time of the year. That's why I fish early, because chasing the big one.
All right. So you've been hitting Westernport a fair bit. People can see that on your videos.
Yep.
Why Westernport?
Oh, no, just because I enjoy the you know, all the scenic stuff.
The serenity.
Yeah, the serenity.
How's the serenity?
As bad as it sounds, it's very like.
Yeah. But you can get out of the wind anywhere in Westernport.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So let's say someone is about to make their first trip out. They've got a boat.
Yeah.
They don't have much, you know, info on what to do.
Yeah.
Where would you target for a snapper leading into spring in Westernport?
Yeah.
Based on a northerly wind, a westerly wind, or a southerly wind?
Oh, give me one by one.
All right. So where would you go on a northerly wind?
What's the tide doing?
I'll assume it's a wind against tide, which is commonly what people face. So
okay.
Yep. So it's a run-in tide with a northerly wind.
I'd probably look for somewhere where the wind's going across wind, not fully against. So blue gum.
Oh yeah. Yep. Blue gum.
Blue gum. You can go anywhere in that channel, all the way.
Tooradin side. Tooradin on the closer side of the land.
Yeah. Inside channel.
Yeah.
Like there's so many places you can get out of the wind, like behind crawfish.
Yeah.
There's so many places you can hide. Just get it.
Joe's Island.
Joe's Island. Yep. Anywhere. If you look on a big map and then just line it all up, a good weather app to use is called Windy, and it'll show the wind direction, and then you just look at the tide and you just make a decision based on that. And
I think the French Island is a really big place in the middle of Westernport that you can sort of hide. So if the wind's coming northerly, you can be on the other side of it, or maybe on one of the cross sides.
Yeah. I try and avoid deep areas where there's a lot of tidal movement, because the waves will really stand up. And I don't fish deep at this time of year.
Yeah, you're
very
fishing
often. What's
deep though? What's shallow and what's deep?
For me, anything over 7 meters is deep.
Yep. And you like fishing really shallow.
Yeah.
Really shallow.
Really shallow.
Yeah. We're talking like so you could stand up in those areas sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Close enough.
Not often, but like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you like fishing so shallow at this time of year?
I think you can catch snapper in any depth of water at this time of year, but in the shallow stuff, you get more of a chance of getting the bite. I don't know why, maybe because they just come up.
Feeding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grazing.
Yep. I think it's inbuilt into a snapper's brain. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in South Australia. Like, I'm from South Australia, and what they do around this time, they do exactly the same thing as in Victoria, and they just head straight up the Gulf to Drossum, and same in Westernport, they head straight up the top. And
feed and do the thing and come back down, or cut laps. You've been a big proponent for cutting laps, and last year we finished late season in Westernport. We went and got a Brocky's Burger on Brocky's Burger boat, and then headed up the top end, because it was a hot day and
Yeah, I was in 2 mines that day.
Yeah.
Performed pretty bad.
Well, we got a fish. That was the main thing. Yeah, we did get a fish. Okay, so someone's got a boat. They're heading out. We're fishing shallower areas in Westernport. We want to stay out of the wind.
Yeah. And like the shallower areas, like you can go off Lysards, but go on somewhere like Middle Spit or somewhere where the close to the bank where it drops down and it's shallow. Doesn't mean you have to go up the top. Or I honestly reckon you'd get them anywhere.
Yep.
It's just.
And you're doing a lot of like fish intercepting, so you're like you're intercepting transiting fish, right?
Yeah, so it's like the fish are just like a yo. So if you imagine a yo-yo, what goes up must come down. It's like with the tide goes up, and the fish go up, and then the fish come down like with the tide.
Yep.
And over doing a long time, you can predict where the fish are going to be before they get there.
And how long is a fair go in a fishing session? Because a lot of people sometimes they go, I've only got 2 or 3 hours to spare, but you're fishing long hours at the moment.
Not necessarily, like one tide.
One tide? That's still 6 or 8 hours,
But that's, to be fair, Lincoln, you need...
Yeah, you need to give it a crack.
You need, like the other day we only fished 4 hours and got a good amount of fish. And that, but you gotta fish at least a tide. You can try half a tide. Like me and Izzy likes to do half a tide a lot because she hasn't got a lot of time to spare, and we'll go out half tide and predict where the fish are going to be, and normally most times be successful.
So, all right. So you're fishing shallow. We're fishing, call it for a full tide, and you're trying to aim for fish that are, so you're sort of intercepting them as they're passing their way through or cutting laps. You've been a big proponent of that. So you've said that this season seems to have started a bit earlier. Any observation on water temp in Westernport at the moment compared to last season?
I think it's pretty similar, but it's just, I think there's a huge volume of fish this year. I think past years, maybe they've been there and we just haven't seen the bite this early, but I'm not sure, but it just seems like there's just a ridiculous amount of fish because everyone's catching them.
And have they been coming on a certain part of the tide or a certain time, or is it just they're just picking through the tide? Sometimes it's often when it's aggressive November mode, it's tide changes and stuff like that. But
in past years, it's always been the running tide, get nothing at night. Get nothing like this early. We never get nothing at night. I put so many sessions at night this early. But this year, you're getting them at night, any tide, any part of the tide. It's just ridiculous. Like it's honestly like.
Well, that little opener that I got the other night was mid-tide. Mid-tide.
Yeah, and you lost a good one too.
We lost a very good one, but that just didn't take. It's just unfortunate.
But this time of year, like it's you're gonna lose fish. It's just how it is.
And interestingly, one of the things that I was doing different on your advice when I was out fishing the other night was you just said single 6-0 circle with just a squid ring, fresh squid. You're not doing your twin hook snooze or anything like that. You're doing a bit of both, but you like the idea of the single circle.
You'd think I'd do it more, but I did it once the other night. First bait got a fish, and then I think I lost the hook to the ray or something, and then I didn't do it again because I just didn't have a scallop. I'd like to do it more. And I think the key thing at this time of year is just use real small baits and have lots of hook exposure. Be patient when the fish will just depends. Sometimes they buckle over, but sometimes they just tap on it. And in the video I put out tonight, there's a big snapper that I caught, and he was on the bait for over 2 minutes.
A little bit like a flathead bite, sort of not too sure that they're there. You might see this little movement. You might even think it's weed. How's the weed been?
The weed's been
hasn't been too bad the other night.
It's been good and bad. I think after we get big downpours of rain, it gets a little bit bad, but it clears up. If there's no more rain, it will clear up pretty quick. Couple of tides.
Any sort of thought? Obviously, you've caught a great number of fish the last sort of 2 to 4 weeks. Any sort of thoughts on size comparing to the early season, last few seasons?
There's a lot of big ones. I've caught, I think, 6 over 80 so far. But then there's also a lot of nice, there's no in between. It's like they're either 3 to 3.5 kilos or 50 centimetres or really big. I haven't had any 4 I think I've had 1 4 kilo. Yeah.
What a shame. Everyone must be cursing behind the camera right now, mate. No, in fairness, we've got to respect viewers that, you know, this gentleman does it for a living, and so you fish every opportunity that you get.
Yeah.
So time on water, and if you're new to it, time on water will win you every part of the time. It's like, you're not going to win the lottery unless you buy lottery tickets, right? The more you buy, the more chance you got to win, you know. But
I think if you're new to it and you have 2 trips and you can get 1 fish, you've done very well. I think if you have the right fresh, you know, either market squid or good bait you can get somewhere, and you bait correctly, like your hooks, you take time, I think that's important. The rest is pretty...
It's time on water.
Yeah, just pretty much just waiting around. Like, you can try, like I do sound for snapper in Westernport, but that's mainly in the deeper water or at slack tide.
And is that just to get an understanding of where they are and where you might want to drop as the tidal flow starts, or is that, or because like, generally you like to go to an area where you think you're going to see fish, or where you might have caught fish a few nights before or whatever, and you just dump and sit?
Nah, it's more technical than that. It's so like, so say if we've got a 6 hour tide period, and I'll know in my head there's 3, so it's like I have a picture in my head where the snapper will start and where they'll finish, and then I'll sit on a spot for like 2 hours, move to the next one for 2 hours, and then move it up again for 2 hours. So it's like the school of fish come past, and then I chase them up wherever.
So that's on a run-in tide going up?
Yep.
And do you do the same in reverse for a run-out?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
And all I look for is like channel edges, or when I do my sounding, it's not, I don't sound for fish, I'm sounding for like lumps and bumps, and like when you look on some maps, you'll see like where, you know, like there's a channel and there's like something that sticks out and there's like a lump. The fish just swim over, graze over those areas, and they're sitting ducks, really, like, yeah.
Sitting ducks for Reedys. Okay, so how do you see, if it started a little bit earlier than normal, how do you see, you know, because we're technically in spring, even though if you're in Melbourne for this last week and the week coming ahead, you'd think we're in the depths of winter. But how do you, what you're seeing already, how do you think the season's going to progress? Because last season, Westernport fired for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it went bang on like Donkey Kong in Port Phillip. You were going hell for leather in Port Phillip. I was with you.
It actually went a bit quiet in Westernport, and then fired right up. Everyone was busy over in Port Phillip, and went under the radar. Like, I went back a few times just quietly, and we had some ripping sessions over there.
So, you know, with what you're seeing already, so Westernport abnormally seems to be firing very early, and the bite is not too bad considering how cold the water is. What are you thinking over the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks is going to look like? If you had a bit of a crystal ball with what you know?
I'd say in a month people will be sick as snapper. I'm hoping, like, that's what I can only go on past things I've seen, and I just think that it's going to be great.
There's definitely fish in Port Phillip. I was driving the new boat around last night and sounded some fish, just was sounding along and found some fish, probably not bad school sizes, very, very patchy. There was a lot of bait in the bay, even though it was very, very tough conditions. There was a lot of bait in the bay, which is always a positive sign. What are you seeing in Westernport? You're seeing it, because one thing that when I was fishing the other night, which was quite interesting, and you mentioned this, there was no bycatch. Like normally in Westernport, you're getting skanked by, you know, eagle rays and, you know, rock cod and whatever else. Like,
it's just been a fisherman's paradise, to be honest. They're like, normally early season you'll go out for a couple of trips, get nothing, and you even get tricked. You'll catch an eagle ray like this, and it'll flap off, and you'll think it's a snapper. But this year, nothing. Like, it's just wild. Not even gummies. Not even
baby gummies.
Nah, which is.
I know the Baron and I almost ran out of things to talk about, which I know for me is like completely odd. But you know, we had no rigs to retie. There was nothing. It was had to move a bit of weed, and then along came Mr. Panny. So
I think I had one bad night with Izzy where we caught the same shovel nose about 6,000 times, and went through a packet of hooks on it, and it had some jewelry, and that's about it. Like,
Well, people need to get out there, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Because if they're waiting, they need to get out there. And after this blow, should all the water mixed up a bit and the nutrients and stuff, it should go. Yeah. It should go well.
Yeah. Well, like last week, I went 4 days in a row, and it was interesting. Some days I'd really take the baits. The next day you'd have to really just sit on them, and they're hungry, and there's a lot.
So tell us about bait. So market squid or fresh squid if you can catch squid.
Yeah.
Small little squid rings or little strips or something like that, depending on your hook and your rig setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take your burley pot.
Now, yes, because this is different.
Yeah.
This is something different than you've been doing last season, isn't it?
What? No, I've been doing it for a long time, the burley pot.
Well, I know in Port Phillip you have, but I didn't know in Westernport.
No, they're doing it. You don't
pay attention, viewers. I might watch all your videos. I'm your biggest fan.
Well, you know I use the burley pot there.
Mate, I don't know, some days you're only showing the water, whether it's Port Phillip or Westernport. Yeah. So, okay, tell us about the burley pot. What are you doing?
So we're putting heaps of lead in it, putting it on the bottom. Because we're shallow, you can get it to the bottom. Giving it just pilchards, not feeding them, and I reckon that's helping a lot.
Really? In tidal waters, it's flowing that?
We put it down.
You put it down, it's making the difference?
Yeah, I reckon. It does something.
I tell you, if you get a mouthful of Westernport water in 2 weeks, it tastes like pilchard due to this. It'll be scented pilchard. You might want to change to silver whiting frames or something.
Any 1%, any little thing that will give you the edge. Get away from the boats. Like a lot of people have been fishing where I normally fish, and
no, they don't do that, do they?
No, never.
No.
But I don't let it faze me. I
go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else. Find new spots. And this year, all the good fish have been found at all these new spots, and it's just by finding new. Like just study your maps. That's
a few videos ago. You showed this with that relief shading thing on your Lowrance, right? Yep. And you were driving along and you sort of showed the bumps and the bips and bobs and whatever in the channel edge. So you've actually told the viewers how you're doing it. And, you know, okay, fair enough, you have a bit more of an art form of, that looks a little bit more fishy than something else.
Yeah.
But that's effectively what you're doing. You're just dumping. It's not a mark that you've known.
Nah.
You're sort of dumping, like your general area. But
So I know where to, sort of what area to be on what part of the tide. Like, you know, you just follow the tide up and bring it back down, and you can do a bit of sounding. Like slack tide, you can in the deeper water. Like next month, slack tide, like at somewhere like Lysards or that. If you can find the school that's, you know, they're spawning and stuff, you can have a cracker session and drop on them.
Interesting comment made on my page tonight actually was a guy wondering, you know, he in his opinion, his methodology is that he likes to sound single, or you know how you get like one or two bigger arches and drops and then gets like one decent fish rather than stressing about finding a school. So what would be your recommendation there, like finding like a lot of snapper on the bottom of your portfolio?
If I'm on the mud, I just like finding one, but if I'm on structure, I like to find a lot.
Yeah, like reefs and things like that. Yep, cool, okay. So all right, so you're saying that it's going to be really positive coming into the next sort of 6 weeks after the next weather break, which we don't exactly know what's going to happen looking at the week's weather ahead. What's the signal? I reckon you've been asked this a bit. What's the signal where Reedy's brain goes, click, Port Phillip?
There's no signal. Like before I used to fish Westernport earlier, I used to fish Port Phillip before Westernport just because I love the challenge of and basically when I get sick of Westernport, there's no, like I know I can go get them.
So it could be that the bite might drop down because you've been out for a few trips, or is it water temp, or?
No? This year it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But like I'll be over there and I'll just, you know, I'll get sick of it basically, and like because for years I've done Port Phillip before I did Westernport, and then vice versa. And Port Phillip's harder earlier because the water temp's always colder. But as I've gotten older, I like Westernport because I love just sitting back in the sea. Like,
you can always find a spot out of the wind too,
yeah,
which is nice. So you can fish a lot of weather.
Yeah. And you do a lot more trips early in Port Phillip to be successful in Westernport. So Port Phillip's harder earlier, and then Westernport becomes harder later.
So assume for a moment that we've got a person, a follower, who is a Port Phillip Bay person, because they live that side, they've got a boat there, whatever. And we've talked about this on previous videos when we've been fishing together, which is pick a line, pick a depth.
Running tide, shallow, no deeper than 7 metres. If you're out at night, no deeper than 5 metres.
Copyright that.
Running tide.
Running tide.
If you're up, if you're very, very, very north, doesn't matter about the tide. And just anywhere from 2 to 5 metres.
There's definitely a lot of fish around. So a few people have gone up sort of that top end of the city and got fish already. And a few people have commented that fishing shallow reefs already have got some good fish, and they've been like 5-6 kilo fish.
You just got to make the effort.
Got to make the effort, don't you? And it's a little bit harder to fish with the variance of Melbourne's weather at the moment, because the weather has been pretty up and down.
The northerly up in the city it's blowing offshore, so it's always good. It's hard to get a spot, but you know, you can catch a snapper go in the Yarra and stuff. Like, it's wild what they do. Like,
talk about your armoury, tackle, not so much rigs, but rods and setup, because normally in Westernport you'll fish heavier, stronger gear, because on any normal season you got to deal with some flappy McFlap faces and maybe an odd giller or something, so you fish a bit heavier and a bit stronger stuff. So what sort of tackle are you fishing with in Westernport? How many rods? Because like Port Phillip, you know, because you've got less tide and so forth, it's, you know, a mono setup and multiple rods. Like what's your setup on the boat for catching in tide in Westernport?
Just go with whatever you feel comfortable with, but I think you need a fairly strong rod. 8 to 10, 8 to 12, 10 to 15, whatever you feel comfortable with. Like I like the light rods, and I use a Therese because they got it at a good price. They last a long time, and I can use them on tuna as well, like this school tuna. That's what I use.
Sure. And what sort of size reel would you use? A 10,000 or 8,000 or something
6,000.
like 6,000?
Yeah.
And you're fishing braid in Westernport?
Definitely braid.
What sort of strength are you using? 30 pound? Yeah, 30 pound. Bit of a shock leader?
Definitely a shock. I have to have a shock leader.
Yep. How many pound shock leader would you use?
60, 40, depends. Like I solely only fish for snapper at this time of year, so I'm not interested in catching anything else except for a dewy. So just 60 or 40. I tend to run the gauntlet with 40.
And you tend to use lighter leaders as well.
For like 40 pound. You will occasionally get bitten off, but it's very rare. And I'm quite happy to run the, you know, risk it for the biscuit. And and also I used to use Lumo sleeves, but I don't anymore, because if you hook the rays or you got to cut, it just makes everything. I'm happy for a 7 gil to bite me off and just take the hooks and go and tie on another one. Otherwise you have to muck around with them. And it's really important, because when you got a block of fish, so if you're at a spot, you'll notice you might get a giller, something else, and there's this block of fish that come through all in the same part of the tide, and you don't want to be mucking around with a 7 gil for 20 minutes. You just want to off and get your bait back in the water, because you might miss a snapper. And how many rods are you fishing? So how many rods either side? I can fish up to 6. If I'm by myself, I fish 4.
And how does that differ to Port Phillip? Because obviously Port Phillip, not as big a bycatch, you know, very no current. So what sort of, you know, that 8, using that 6 to 8 or, you know, 6 to 10 kilo rod, or
just 6 to 8 kilo.
7 foot.
I like graphite. You probably break them and they're not as durable as the fiberglass, but I just love the fight. I love hooking with that rod. It's really what you know, you're happy to use.
Mono 20 pound.
20 pound.
Yep. And 40 pound leader.
40 pound leader.
With a little ball sinker on the leader or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I'm in shallow, I won't put any sinker.
Yep.
We're light as possible to get to the bottom.
One thing you showed me as well, some of Port Phillip's shallow reefs can be pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And you fish like a 6-0 circle, just a 1-6-0 circle for the shallow reefs.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's just because you get snagged so much in the reef, and you're going through so much. You'll cast your rod out, you get snagged. Cast your rod, get snagged. You just use a single circle, not even leaders half the time, because it's if you've got leader on, yeah, good, use it. But if you get busted off, don't waste time tying on another leader, because normally when that's happening, you've got a school of fish down there, and you just haven't got time to.
Yep. And sometimes in Port Phillip, you know, we've always got sort of like the paternoster rig or the snapper ultra rig going, and as well as a running rig style.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny that sometimes fish will preference the one or the other, even though the baits are mixed on all of them.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the one of. I think some days they just are off the bottom, and the paternosters were like, you'll see when it's a paternoster day, and they'll just keep going on the paternosters. Some days it won't matter. Some days it'll just be snell. Some days, so it's always worth having at least 2 paternosters out in Port Phillip. I think, like, I'd like to say use another rig, but the scallop just seems to work for some crazy reason.
Yep.
That's.
What about bite times in Port Phillip? Does that differ from Westernport at all?
I think, I think like, you're gonna have days. It's different. Like, you're gonna have the days where you know it's gonna be tough in the middle of the day, and then you're gonna have the days where you know it's going to bite. They're going to bite all day. So if you get a cloudy day, light southwesterly, the barometer's slowly going up, that's good conditions. Like, you just go out all day and they'll bite. But then if you've got a northerly, it's sunny, there's no wind, you know, and the barometer's dropping, and the tides are very small, you're going to struggle in the middle of the day, but you will get a bite if you go around the tide change or fish, you know, a moonset or a moonrise or you know, sunset, sunrise. You just got to work harder on those tougher days, but you can always get fish.
Okay. You said something about moonset and moonrise there.
Yeah.
So solar lunar.
Yeah.
Do you notice that snapper bite on that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
It's just coincides
with tide change, obviously. Yeah.
But it's just something extra. There's one every day, and if you can just look at it and you go, all right, you're thinking about going in, you see half an hour time there's a moonset, moonrise. It's just a fancy thing to believe in, and it's all about the morale, having good morale. I'm going to get fish, and then you get them. If you believe in something,
it'll happen.
It'll happen.
Yeah. Now, what about preferred bait and burley for Port Phillip?
I love silvers.
Silvers, definitely. Silver whiting.
I love King George whiting the best.
Yep.
Heads.
Keep the heads. Yeah.
Keep the heads loose, and just put on a head. When you fillet them, just leave the tail connected and the head, and bang that on. And the big dogs just love them. They really
it's like giving kids 7-Eleven Slurpees, mate.
It is. They're the best bait.
It's kryptonite. Oh, okay.
Now, on a tough day, you might not be able to get them with that, and you go to pilchards or squid, or you know, just try a variety of different baits if you're having a tough day.
Got to mix it up.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So if we're saying Port Phillip starts a little bit later than Westernport, so we're saying that
I think the fish are there at the same time.
Yeah,
the bite starts
different.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that like October, mid-October?
Different every year.
I know it's different. You got to give the punters a crack.
All right. So this year, I reckon they're probably. I don't know. Because I haven't been.
Well, it hasn't happened yet either. You know.
I think they'll be out there.
Well, they're out there. I found some last night. I didn't fish for them, admittedly.
Yeah. You know, generally October the 1st. They're probably in the city. There'll be people quietly catching them up north.
Tea tree's already blooming.
Yeah.
So it's been blooming for a week.
Yeah.
So that's an indication that despite how cold it is, and they think, oh, tea tree, you know, it was always the 1st of November or the end of October, whenever the tea tree bloomed. It's already blooming.
Yeah.
Global warming, mate.
Yeah.
It's going crazy. Bring on the snapper.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Throwing back to Westernport for a minute.
Yeah.
If you were okay, just assume that weather's nice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter run in or run out tide. You can fish either in the day.
Yeah.
What general area would you say to someone who could be in for a shot who doesn't have much of an idea? Where would you point them to?
What time of year is it?
In the next couple of weeks. So we're talking now, you know, really the last 2 weeks in September.
Lysards on the end of a run out, or what's the main channel called off Blue Gum? Down there, or
Blue Gum.
Those 3 areas.
Okay, or real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In the next 2 weeks.
Any particular depth at all, or?
10 metres, something.
And don't stress out trying to sound, you know, because some people don't know how they've got the sounders set up and stuff. They don't really know what they're looking at.
Yeah, just try and get your baits down on a nice area where you have a look at your navionics or your mapping and just see the contour lines, and you sort of just want like lots of lines together. I don't know how to explain it. Like
converging contour lines.
Just think about like something like that. Like where the water naturally goes, like where it pushes. So where it funnels, like, and you'll see like contour lines, and there's like little channels, underground channels and stuff, and I think the fish will naturally push that way, like edges, anywhere there might be food, you know, reel and lysards and over at Blue Gum, they're all like really popular areas for, you know, October sort of thing.
The one thing that I started to do too, Reedy, which are a lot of people that need to learn about, like timings and stuff like that, is really important, right? The benefit of everyone with a smartphone these days is if you take a photo of a fish on a smartphone and you flip up to find the details of that photo, it'll sometimes it'll tell you a GPS mark, but it'll actually tell you, you know, the time, obviously the time of day and the date that you've got that photo. Yeah. So
don't send people your photos because the GPS mark.
If they're live photos, I think that's right. If they're static, I'm not too sure.
No, they do.
Oh, do they? Oh. And also now I know if you're fishing on Mars. Okay. No, but in fairness though, but write that stuff down, because you could go back for 3 years of history and start to get a bit of a pattern.
Well, that's what I do is every fish I catch, whether it doesn't matter big or small, pinky or whatever, I upload it to my personal Facebook page, and I set it on private, so no one can see it. I write all the details about the fish, and then in my memories they pop up every day.
So you're getting like an absolute porn feed of fish every day.
I caught one there, and I remember, and it's like my diary on steroids. Like.
No wonder your phone battery only lasts like 3 hours a day.
It just helps. Any help, they're just so, they do the same sort of thing every year. Not every year, but
Okay. That's pretty good, man.
You like that one?
Yeah, I do like that one. Yeah.
And just make sure it's on private, otherwise everyone gets the information.
You'll get about 3,500 friend requests tomorrow night. Okay, so snapper season is obviously very important to you for your brand and so forth.
Yeah.
When do you sort of fish to? Like, is it just that you're fishing to exhaustion and then you just give up? Because you were pretty knackered last year when we fished together a bit, or is it that you think, oh crap, I need to do something different for the viewers
But see,
you go whiting fishing a bit too.
I reckon I'm a better whiting fisherman than snapper fisherman.
Yep.
And I do it to January, then me and Possum go on the whiting.
Yep. So January sort of end of Christmas signifies time for a change.
You can still. I used to go all summer, but I need a break.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Go smack a couple of tuna this year.
I'm going to see Matty Hunt up at Portland. I really enjoyed doing the stick baits last year with my kids. I love Portland. It's so awesome, and
it's a beautiful place to visit.
Yeah, I just like catching them on stick baits and taking my kids out and just No, not stressed out. Like, I don't want to catch.
We must do that. We could bring down my boys and go see Matty. I've been promising him, Matty, we're coming for you.
Yeah.
There's not a guy that doesn't understand fishing more than Matty Hunt.
Yeah.
Like he knows it, and he is passionate as they come.
Yeah. No, it was good. I really enjoyed going up there last year with my boys and Zach, and I can't wait to do it again. One
thing that Matty also does is if the tuna aren't firing, or even if you go get your bag of tuna really quickly and go do reef dropping with him. Yeah. And you've caught some brilliant gummies with him too.
I caught one probably about 30 kilos.
Yeah. And I think you get snapper off those reefs too, don't you?
And it's the middle of winter. It's an awesome fishery. I would love to live up there. If I could just abandon my brand and go live up there and fish, I would.
Mate, you could catch snapper down there and whiting down there. Whoop.
It's not the same.
Do it for a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so snapper.
Yeah.
What else haven't you told the punters?
A lot.
What else can we tease out of you?
I don't know.
I think we did this on the whiting video that we talked about.
Yeah.
Reedy's 5 key essentials. So let's look at this. Right now, considering what you're seeing so far, and thinking about 4 weeks ahead, so leading into October, what is the 5 key essentials that someone's got to do for Westernport to go catch snapper?
You need to get your ass on the water because...
Right now, okay.
There's a lot.
1, go fishing. All right.
Go fishing.
That's a given.
Nah, but what, this in the next month? Or
in the next 4 weeks. Now till the next 4 weeks. Fish shallow?
Once it warms up, I think it will warm up pretty quick. Like once it warms up, then you get them in the deep. Like they can school up and you can have some crazy.
So what does warm up mean though? So what's the water temp now?
14. It can be 16 in like the other day. Like the thing with Westernport, I can launch out in the morning, and by that afternoon it's 15 degrees. Like it's 14, and then I can sit out there to the night and then it cools back down. So it goes up and down. It fluctuates every day. And the other day I was getting 15.
Okay.
Yeah, but only for a short period of time.
Small baits, you said?
Small baits at this time.
Fresh squid?
Fresh squid, and if you want to suck a big one in, the squid head, cut the squid head in half.
Yeah.
Take time to do your bait.
You leave those big long candle tentacles on and stuff, or you chop those off?
I chop them off.
You chop them off,
but just don't, when they're biting, if they're just nibbling, just resist the strike until you see the rod full bend over. And then still you might miss it, but most of the big ones are being caught on squid heads or squid rings or I don't think I've actually got a fish on a fish bait yet.
These most 5 core tips for Port Phillip. Now, you asked me a time span, so for Westernport I said the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Which sort of takes us into that sort of 10th of October, depending on exactly when this video goes up.
Yeah.
Now, so if assuming that the 1st of October signifies when people start hitting Port Phillip, what are the 5 core Reedys tips?
No, fish 7 metres.
Fish 7 metres?
In the daytime, 7 metres.
Yep.
In the middle of the day, maybe 12, I don't know. You will get them out wide, but I think you're more chance in shallow.
In shallow?
And the norther you go.
Tide preference?
I still like a run in.
Early.
Because when they're migrating in, they're using the tide to move along. You might find them parked up somewhere on a run out. That's about it.
Okay. Baits, so...
Squid and pilchards.
And silvers. Yep.
And mixture. And mixture of everything, mixture of baits, mixture of paternosters.
Versus running, Burley?
Definitely burley, really hard, but in a container and mash it up and do not feed them early. You just want to burley them and lure them to you, and don't throw anything in the water.
Yep. So a lot of people used to, chop up pilchards and just spam
that works really well when it's November.
Yep.
And they're going and they're buckling and there's fish everywhere.
Yep.
Not this time of year.
Okay, cool. All right. We're not quite at 5 yet.
Okay.
So, what else can you give them? Come on, give them a nice little tempter.
If you're going to go out wide and sound structure,
So you're looking for stuff on your bottom of your sounder, basically, to the uninitiated.
Do that
right?
on a run-out tide.
A run-out tide, structure run-out tide.
That's when they'll be more likely to hold up, or early morning they might hold up on structure.
That's a very good point, because a lot of people go, why does structure equal holding fish? Well, for a bit of an explanation, let's say you've got a big hump of reef, like a little mound, whatever it is, right? And on the run out, if they've done their transiting on the run in tide, there's a run out tide, they'll hide behind that.
I just hold. I just can't.
Creates like a little eddy, so they don't have to work as hard.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually migrate. I think they migrate a certain distance and then park up somewhere for maybe the run out tide, so they're not swimming against the tide. Although there's not much tide in Port Phillip, I don't know if that's true, or it's just what I think.
Do you ever fish offshore for snapper?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
There's like a summer thing, or
summer, mainly a winter thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I just don't get it. It's so far for me to go and cost so much, and I fish for snapper for basically 6 months of the year. So I tend to love squid and catching squid and autumn, and when I can't catch something in the bay, then I'll go offshore.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Now, one thing that you did last season, which I thought was very generous and fantastic, is that you took a number of disadvantaged kids and kids with that come from very different backgrounds, fishing in support of them. And you partnered with Jason Turner, who's a wonderful charterer, been in Melbourne a long, long time. Loves catching snapper and whiting. And you made a pact yourself to design some jumpers. And you had a little bit of margin in there, and for all the jumper sales, the profit was donated to taking these people out fishing to give Jason money to pay for his charter, right?
Correct.
Are you going to run that again this year?
Yeah, so over winter, it was hard to get kids, so we sort of paused it until the weather comes good over summer. And I think the whiting are the most fun for kids to go on, and we'd probably do the whiting over summer with Jace, and also maybe a couple of snapper trips we might have coming up, and
So a couple of new jumpers coming out, or is it just the same old snapper jumper?
Same old. I might bring out like one out. I don't know, but because everything costs me money to do it. And,
sure.
So just see how it goes. People might not get behind it because everyone's pretty.
George from Complete Angler got behind you, gave everyone like a rod and reel setup.
Yeah, we gave all the kids, thanks, George.
Yeah, that was brilliant, George. Well done. And Complete Angler Dean, he is just on fire at the moment. So he's having a rest at the moment, but he's doing really well. If there's any other tackle brands out there that want to showcase their stuff, this is a brilliant piece of work that Reedy and Jason are doing together. I couldn't more highly recommend getting behind it. So, and some of these kids have never done something like this before.
Yeah, it's hard to organise. It takes up our time, and but we love doing it. Possum absolutely loves doing it, and it's just real satisfying, and to see the kids.
Absolutely, yeah. So if times are tough and the economy's getting a bit slower and so forth, if you can spend some money with Reedy on his jumpers so that we can fund those further trips, that is absolutely magnificent. So and you did 3 trips I think in total?
We did 3. I paid for the first one with all myself.
You funded 2?
And then one guy's giving me money for another one that we still got to do. Excuse me. So I think we did 3.
Yeah, I think you did 3. Yeah. You were hoping to get a 4th, but it sort of died down, and
we just couldn't get the kids. We might just make it just for kids. I don't know, because it's very hard to organise.
It is, because there's actually quite a lot of people don't realise there's a few loopholes to jump through to organise the kids, because they do come from very, very diverse backgrounds. And with the I don't want to use the word disabilities, but I think that the sort of things that they need to work on in their lives and so forth, and how they interact. So, and Chris was able to give you a bit of a hand too, as a close friend of mine who does NDIS care. So hopefully you can get it all together and get some more out there, because that was really encouraging to see. So well done, and thank you for your efforts on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, so that was great. What else we got to talk about?
That's about it.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Well, more importantly, it's been absolutely brilliant to be back in the new den. The professional den's a lot warmer than the last one.
Yeah, the last one makes some better adjustments too. We just had to whip it up tonight.
Yeah, we did, because we finally were able to find a time together. You're off the water for a night. It's only like blowing hail sideways at 90 kilometres an hour tonight. That's why you're off the water. No, we do need to do this. So if you are a follower of Reedys Rigs, which you should be on all the social channels, and you think that we haven't covered off something tonight, prompt me for some questions. I'm here to try and extract all of this out of this man. So ask away, and what we can answer, we'll answer. And we might even come and do a V2 when the season's starting to hot up a little bit.
Maybe a Port Phillip one.
Why not? And we can reflect back on, what we sort of discussed here. The predictions. Were they right?
Wrong.
All right, well then, let's be, on 3RW, they go, by Friday, this is going to happen. All right, so this next week of weather looks absolutely treacherous. You're going to fish no matter what, because you just can't do more than 2 days without fishing. Tell me, by the end of September, what's the predictions? That's 2 weeks from when we're filming this right now. What's a prediction?
Everyone will be catching snapper.
Everyone's going to be catching snapper.
Yeah, hopefully.
So drag your boats out, run them, check your wheel bearings.
I'm seeing a lot of
batteries.
Like, it was good. I was on Facebook feed today. I've seen a lot of people catching a good amount of. Like, I've seen someone had their bag.
Yeah. There's a few that have just got 1 or 2, but really nice fish.
Yeah. And I think it's going to continue, and it's just going to. There's big fish coming in Westernport every day.
Yep.
So, look out.
Oh, go down your local tackle store and grab some Reedys, and let's get cracking.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
No worries. Thanks, guys.